welcome back to Elgon Connect, and it's a very exciting edition of Elgon Connect because it's a new era. So we've moved into spring and we're going to celebrate that with a complete new concept to our images. So for those of you what's not seen me before, my name's Emily Schofield and I look after international education for Elgon Cosmetics. So what do I mean by a new start? Well, in the past we've always had our looks, our collections, and we're really moving forwards now because the way the world is at the moment, we have to take a fresh approach. So we have to deal with the situation what we've all been affected by and move on to a new era, a bit more of a safety blanket, so to speak, but still motivating and exciting. So I'm here to introduce you to our unique beauty concepts. So these are unique beauty stories telling the story of your individual client. So you can bespoke each story to each client so that every single customer and client of yours feels special and feels that they're getting their own unique story when they come to see you in the salon. So part one of the unique beauty stories, and our first edition is blonde sensation. So blondes play a massive part in our salon work, and when a client finds a salon what can get that perfect blonde for her, then they're not going to leave and go elsewhere. So our blonde sensation story is all about creating the perfect blonde, whether it be a more warmer, caramelly blonde or a cooler, crisp, purer blonde. So, blonde sensation has two sides to it. As you may see behind me, we have two concepts within the first unique beauty story. Today, I'm going to focus on the digital blonde. So, what is digital blonde? Digital blonde is, as you could probably imagine from the name, it's a bit more of a high impact blonde. So it's for the client what really wants to stand out. So you will get more reflection and more purity from a digital blonde because she's lightened to probably the lightest you could go, and then there's tonal reflections added in there so that it really gives you that different tone in the different lights, creating the digital effect. So what kind of girl would wear this? So it's the party girl, the ones what can't wait to get back out and be seen. So they've been enclosed in lockdown and they're really wanting to get back out there and really bring back to life what they've been missing in this past year or so. So you can see from the image behind me, she is quite an androgynous kind of like quirky kind of look. So it really gives that opportunity for your short-haired clients to maybe have an alternative to what they're used to when they come to the haircut. And that's what we're going to talk about today, the digital blonde haircut. So throughout blonde sensation, as I say, we've got illuminating blonde, which you will see in a few weeks, and digital blonde. The haircut within the range is the digital blonde. So we're going to do the step-by-step of that today, and then in a couple of weeks you'll see the colour technique for digital blonde. So you're really going to break it down and get in-depth knowledge in how to create this look. But the importance of unique beauty story is these are aspects of a concept. So you can take parts of this haircut what will suit one of your clients or parts of the colour. There's no strict guidelines. What we want to focus on with unique beauty story is your final client, and that final client being comfortable in your chair and not wanting to go elsewhere. So we're going to give you the tools to do that because there's some exciting new colour sides, well, lightening products, as we have a line extension to eye blonde. So you will hear a lot more about that when we do the colour. And we also, which is focused on digital blonde, have a line extension, if you can see behind me, to our silver range. So we've really brought in every aspect you can think of to help with them pure, crisp, iridescent digital blondes. So We'll talk a bit more about that as we go through, but I'm going to start going through the step-by-step now for this cut. So you will have a full understanding of how to create this shape by the end of this session. So then it's down to you to go out and practice it, and then take aspects of it and fit them into your client's needs and write your client's own stories. Okay, so I've pre-sectioned my initial sections, but I am going to talk you through them. Really simple sectioning, not too difficult. So first of all, what you need to do is take a section from ear to ear. So across the crown and down to the other side. And just isolate that back area, because we'll come to that after. So we're just separating the two sides of the head essentially. Once you've done that, we come to the top section. So as you can see, I've taken out a rectangular section on top of the head. And I've clipped that out of the way. We are going to work on that first, but I've clipped it out of the way so we can section the rest. So just to make it easier, the neater your sectioning and the more you plan your haircut out with sectioning, the neater the haircut and the more precise the haircut. You'll hear people talk about, oh, I've had my haircut, it just falls into place. That is down to clean sectioning and planning out the haircut. Messy haircut means messy finished result. So after we've taken the rectangular section on the top, what we've done then is on either side, I'll bring it a bit closer so you can see, on either side we've taken almost a triangle, but what we've done this for is mainly to isolate this front part. So on a real life model, you would take about 2 centimetres of a section on that front bit and isolate it. I've taken slightly less in areas because it's a doll's head. So doll's head tend to have a lot of hair around the hairline, which is totally different to a human being, so very strange, but they always do tend to have a lot more hair around the hairline. So I've just taken that into consideration, as we would with a client. So if you get a client come in, we do take into consideration the different hair growth patterns or the different textures throughout the head. So that's what I've done with my doll's head. I've repeated it on both sides. So both sides we have this front isolated, so it's left a triangular section above the ear. Okay, so as I mentioned, the first part we're going to cut is this top section. So we can release the top section now and we comb it forwards, because essentially this first part is putting in the outline of where the fringe is going to be. Now, as a focal point, we can take all this section in one to do the outline. If you feel more comfortable sectioning it half and half, just horizontal sections, you can do that. If the client's got a lot of thick hair, obviously the finer the hair, you don't have to. So, a guideline. If you look at the image behind me, you can see she's got kind of like a jaggedy fringe getting longer towards this side. So we're using the eyes and the eyebrows as a guide. So I want to leave the right side of my client where the longer part will be. So I'm going to use the edge of her eyebrow as a guide, and I'm going to cut upwards from there, so that you get shorter to long, long to short. Okay? So you can see, this is my guide. And what I'm actually going to do, because it's quite a large section, is just drop that part for now and just work on half of the section. So you can see my fingers are angled. So I'll turn it forwards. They're going from this part of the eyebrow, so the inner part of the eyebrow, and then just upwards, so that we're creating short to long, long to short. So you can see. So So then I can take the rest of the section and use the shortest piece as my guide and continue with my diagonal fingers and removing all that length. And you don't have to worry about it being maybe slightly graduated, because this is not the finish. This is just putting the outline in, because we're then going to go ahead and elevate it. So when we elevate it, we're almost going to graduate it. So that's our next step. So we've put our outline in, and you can at this point, if you want, take a bit more off, if you want to go a bit shorter, or leave it a bit longer. Remember, it's the individual client's story. So whatever that client wants. So next step, we're going to utilize wide part of the comb, and we're going to section down the center of our section. And this is where we elevate. Now we're elevating, you'll notice some of the short drops, but we're only elevating to 45 degrees. So there's not as much coming off the top as you would imagine, as you can see, but we're taking that point off because that's where we will add texture through the fringe. And then we continue throughout the top section. It's a very pretty haircut, this. So you can already see the fringe is starting to separate, and you're getting that texture, but with a heaviness, because we've graduated it. We're not layering it, we're graduating it. So you've got that almost wedge, that ledge what graduation gives. And that's where it's really building levels, because when we come to colour it, we're wanting levels of colour going to give that reflection. So I'm just continuing this top section, 45-degree angle, and taking the corner off. You might be able to see a bit of a tonal reflection already, because I've used a new professional silver shampoo on my model today. So she's had a nice toner. It was just the natural blonde what come with the doll's head, no previous colour or anything we've done to it. So just that tone within the shampoo has given it this nice silver reflection. It's a little less coming off of this side. So we can see now we're already getting that heaviness but separation with it. And that's our top section done for now, because we're going to move on to the back now. So, where do we go with the back? So we're going to layer this top part of the back, but then the bottom part will be graduated. So we need a guide, and we use our top section as our guide so that nothing goes shorter on this area than this is. So we can release our back section now. What's been sitting nicely behaved, and I'm going to remove just this last part of the top section to use as a guide. So we're almost doing two types of haircut at the back. So you've got two options really. You can do a whole section in one where we angle and then angle different, or you can do this top section and then move on to the underneath and do that section, which is what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to just, it's really, this section's more like just a standard layered, straight out from the head and remove the length. It's that big triangle what's coming off, because then we'll deal with that underneath part after. Whichever you feel comfortable when handling hair. So straight out from the head and and that length is taken. This part's become shorter, and again you discuss with your client their individual needs for how short. But now what we're going to do is work on the underneath section. So we're going to continue our vertical sections, but this time we're going to hold it 45-degree angle because we're going to graduate into the neck. So using our top section at the back, I shall show you. So when we pull it out, you will see the short section, what we've just cut. So it's here. This is our short bit and all underneath is longer. So from our shortest section, we hold our fingers on a 45-degree angle. Okay, so all that hair underneath will be removed. Right down to the base. So depending on how short the client's hair is to start with, it may be that you're not taking any off right at the base. But as we say, each client's different. Then we're continuing round the head, and you do continue round, you don't need to over direct because we want to remove all that weight. The same with this side section to keep it out of the way so I can get to where I'm working. So essentially this last section is coming straight out at the side rather than pulled to the back, so be aware of that, because sometimes when we're cutting we automatically pull these sections back, but we don't want that because we want to remove more length and weight around the sides. Cross-checking. Because we've been cutting vertically, we would always cross-check horizontally, so always the opposite side to your section what you have been cutting. So next we're going to move on to the sides. We'll do the other side, then we'll come back to that front hairline. So vertical sections, and we're cutting it on the actual section. So pulling our guide to the section we're cutting so that we remove more length. Guide, we cut. So then we can cross check either side. You've got to take texture into consideration as well, because some people might have a heavier, thicker side, so it might be that you need to chip into that a little to get that balance. Okay, so now our front sections. So we're going to almost connect from short to long, okay, but we will be maintaining some length here, because after this we're going to do the outline a bit more, so that you've got slightly longer hair here, slightly shorter here, and then a bit straggly, nestly bits at the back. So this front section we're going to cut as we would if we were doing front graduation. So we're taking it in our fingers and we're going long to short. Again, depending on the client's hair, how long it is, how thick it is, depends on if you want to take more than one section. And we're pulling it very forwards so that we're left with like graduation. So we want that wispy, like broken up effect once it's back. So you can see the texture coming through there. Because once we put more of the outline in, you will see how it falls. I mean, you might start cutting it, and when you get to this bit, still with some longer bits over the ears, you might find it looks nice and the client likes that, so you could leave them, all down to the personal story. The weight line and everything, where you've got heavier here, you've got heavier here, heavier at the back, so that you can get this kind of weighted texture that you see in the image. So now it's down to personalisation. So obviously depending on the hairline, depending on the thickness of the client, depending on any growth patterns. But I'm basically going to take a bit of length out of here and just neaten up the hairline. Obviously this is a doll's head, I don't want to take it too short in the nape, because you all know what happens then with a doll's head. And I'm going to leave enough that you could tuck behind the ear. So obviously we can't do tuck on a doll's head, but we can leave the same amount of hair. So I'm really going in and just personalising the hairline. But I'm point cutting. I'm point cutting for the simple reason I don't want a definite line. I want to keep it broken up, so I'm going in and chipping into it with my points of my scissors. So I'm not affecting the shape of the haircut, I'm affecting the density. And now you can really come back and personalise your fringe if you want to. So obviously on a human being it's easier because you try and cut freehand on a doll's head and it just sticks to the plastic of the head. So I'm going to lift it and then I'm going to point cut into it just to break up any too much heaviness, because she's got a lot of hair, just to give that texture. But again, all of this is personalisation and will be different mainly with every different client. And this is where if you want to take it a bit shorter, or the client wants it shorter on the fringe, then you can. So if we could tuck this behind the ears, it would look lovely. But I'm going to do one of the looks. I mean, this look you can see is scrunched almost and texturized almost. And you do get great texture from this haircut. But we've also got another image which you will see, which is more sleeked effect. And that's the effect I'm going to do purely because I can't tuck it on the doll's head. So we're going to make it sleek to the head. And we're going to do that using a Fix 99. So a nice strong hold sculpting gel. And we're going to pop it on. I'm not going to dry it at all now because it's nearly dry anyway, as a textured haircut tends to do. And we'll apply this and then comb it through. So we're putting quite a liberal amount on of number 99, the sculpting gel. And once I've applied it all over, I'm going to comb it through to get that almost combed effect. But we want it to go on everywhere because I want a like sleek like precise, almost wet look. So next time you see me, we're going to be colouring this beautiful model, and we're going to colour it the digital blonde effect. So it again is focused on the top section, but putting layers of colour and building layers of colour to get that reflection, utilising our new eye blonde line extension. So you will see that next time too. So thank you. Any questions, please drop them in the comments and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Stay safe and stay well, and I shall see you soon. Bye.